the halls with mangled bodies. Sorry, that was inappropriate. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Animation Station, your sister for animation, including TV and movies. I'm your host, Jackson Small, and yes, it is time once again for our devilishly delightful, but also heartwarmingly delectable Christmas marathon once again. This is something that I started last year after doing 25 Days of Holidays the year before that as a quick little uh, thing to try and keep the channel alive while I was going through technical problems. But last year's season Slashings was a lot of fun, so now here I am again to talk to you about even more of these. So, what you guys, for those of you that don't know what this is an annual marathon that I started last year that I look at a mixture of Christmas classics and Christmas horror films. So, for example, this is a modern Christmas classic. Whereas next time we're going to look at a horror film. And then the next after that will be something else. I'll try and keep it somewhat even, but I will admit I am running out of Christmas horror films to talk about because I've already done Silent Night, Deadly Night, I've already done Black Christmas, I've already done I can't even remember all of them. I already did Terrifier 3, I've already done a lot of Christmas horror movies, so this is more me trying to finish these up as best I can. And yes, I will also throw in Dear Santa from Paramount Plus because that's a movie I want to watch. So, without further ado or delay, let's start with Violent Night. This is a movie that came out in 2022, the same year as Sonic 2, and for some reason I just never got around to watching it. I don't know if it was a time thing, I don't know if it was just a lack of interest because I was kind of burnt out on action movies up to that point. I don't know, but for whatever reason I didn't see it when it came out, and then I watched the reviews of when it came out from like Cody Leach and Sean Chandler and Austin Burke, and they all said it was actually a really good time, and I was sitting there kicking myself like, great, now I gotta wait until like Christmas of some year to actually cover it properly. So, now that it is officially Christmas season of 2024, 2 years later, I finally sat down and watched this movie. And yeah, everyone saying this movie was awesome was right. This is one of the most badass Christmas action films that I think I've seen since Die Hard. So, this is going to be a very fun review because I had a really fun time watching this movie. That, again, I try to keep it spoiler free, so I can't talk about specific plot points or anything like that. Just give more of a general overview of what I think of the film. And when I personally thought of it, it was a badass movie, and it'll probably be going on my Christmas classics binge fest from now on, alongside Die Hard and all those. So, without further ado or delay, here is my review, and I hope you guys enjoy. Time for the holiday binge fest to begin, and I knew from the beginning that I absolutely had to start with this one. Being another unexpected hit at the box office back in 2022, and much like Die Hard decades prior, has become a holiday classic. Now, 2 years later, I finally had the time to check it out for myself, and yeah, I can see why this became a big hit with both critics and audiences. This one is badass. Great acting, especially David Harbour as Santa. I'm not a huge Stranger Things fan, but I do really enjoy his performance in that show, and I do appreciate how he's been trying to branch out since then. This being one of his most branched out roles of them all. And I gotta say that I really, really enjoyed his performance here. He was a more hard-edged, grizzled Santa, but he was still fulfilling the role pretty well. And when it came to the action scenes, he did not disappoint. I could tell he did most of the stunts himself, and he looked great doing it. So, yeah, huge props to David Harbour as Santa. He did a great job in this movie. Visceral action. It's not John Wick. Like, don't even try to give it that comparison. This is not John Wick. But the action is good, it is brutal, it is visceral, and it more than fits the bill of what's required. Very good action in this movie. A good story, it's a little simple and silly, but it works. It's over the top, it's goofy, kind of like with, again, Die Hard. I know I'm making a lot of comparisons to that movie, but this does feel like it was inspired by that movie. But the story's good. It does a good job, it carries the weight, and it does keep the viewer invested in what's going on. solid characters. The other characters are mostly pretty good. Like, I don't think any character here is outright bad, but some of them are a little bit inconsistent with one another. Surprisingly good writing. I was surprised by how clever and legitimately funny the writing was sometimes. Speaking of funny, this movie has some pretty good dark humor. Like, this movie may be hard-edged, grizzled action fest, but it does sneak in a goofy one-liner every now and then, and it works to the movie's benefit. It not only alleviates some of the tension and grittiness, if I can call it that, it also just works to give the audience something to also make it more memorable. Because don't forget, Die Hard had its fair share of goofy one-liners and quips too, on top of all the action, so it makes sense to have that here. John Leguizamo is a great villain. It's John Leguizamo. I mean, do I really need to elaborate on this? It's freaking John Leguizamo. Anytime this dude plays a villain, whether it's this or freaking Land of the Dead, he does an amazing job. So, yeah, it's John Leguizamo being John Leguizamo, and doing a great job at being John Leguizamo. The pacing is good. It's not fast, it's not slow, it's kind of just right. And rewatchability, while not quite as high as Die Hard, because Die Hard's been around longer, it's still on the higher end of the rewatchability. I can easily see myself rewatching this every holiday season. However, the movie's not quite perfect. I do have a few little problems. Some of the jokes are hit or miss. The movie does start out pretty slow, and the tone is a little bit inconsistent. Sometimes it tries to be like super dark and serious, and other times it's over the top and campy and goofy. Like, pick a lane, or try to find ways to make it transition better. Honestly, just nitpicks though. This was a very fun time and I had a blast watching it. Sure, it's not going to be for everyone due to its R rating and the crazy amount of blood. Like, there's no, like, practical gore or anything, but this movie is very bloody. But for those looking for some more hard-edged Christmas films to try and satiate the palate from all the cheesy, heartwarming, sappy stuff we get all the time, this is definitely a great one to check out. Highly recommended. Final verdict is an 8 out of 10. Check it out. It's a badass Christmas film, and if you love Die Hard, you'll probably love this too. Well, that's it. That is it for this movie review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. Check this movie out for yourself, however you prefer watching media, whether it's streaming, physical, etc., etc. And I'll see you guys next time when we dive into our next Christmas movie. This one actually in the horror genre, Silent Night.
Listen, I want to forget. So listen and you won't regret. Be true to yourself, don't miss your chance, and you won't end up like the fool who